Hi guys, it is Aoife from Words of Clover and I'm here with another vlog video. So I'm actually on a week's holiday at the moment in Donegal, which is where I go all the time, which is up at the top of Ireland, and my family have a holiday home here. And it is basically like my favourite place in the world, as many people who've been on this channel for a while know. So I'm up here for a week and I'm on my own at the moment. I came up yesterday with the two dogs, and I am collecting my fiance Keen today because he was actually in another part of Donegal with his friends for the couple of days. So I'm going to collect him today, and then either tomorrow or Wednesday. Today is Monday, so tomorrow or Wednesday my mum and dad will be coming up, and then we also have like some other family members kind of scattered here and there throughout the week as well. So it's going to be kind of maybe a busy week, considering that like there's kind of going to be probably some family things and stuff like that with my family and also Keen's family, because his family are also from Donegal, not too far from where my family is, which is like just turned out to be a really nice coincidence when we first met each other and got to know each other. So but obviously, like, what to do in Donegal except read, and also even though it is the start of August, it is absolutely lashing rain outside and looks like it's going to be doing that for the rest of the week. So we probably will get a few scattered dry spells, maybe here and there, where we can go out, but for the most part I think we're going to be stuck inside, watching movies, maybe doing a jigsaw and reading books. And I will say I did also get the new horse expansion pack in Sims 4, and I started playing that yesterday. I just made a family and did up the house, so I'll probably also be playing that this week, and I'm very excited to kind of get into that and start my gameplay of that, because I loved horses in Sims 3 and I've really missed them in Sims 4, so I'm really excited to explore that pack and see how I like it. So yeah, but I'm not here to talk about Sims 4 horses. I'm here to talk about the books I'm planning to read while I'm up here, and hopefully I will be able to update you while I'm up and let you know what I've been thinking about the books. So the book that I'm actually reading at the moment, I'm halfway through, is Cranford by Gaskell. So this is a book that I think this originally was like a series of short stories or kind of serialized stories that Gaskell published in, I don't know whether it was like some sort of journal or kind of newspaper or something like that. And it seems to be, we're kind of following this as yet unnamed narrator, seems to be a young woman who kind of has a lot of friends. I think she used to live in this town called Cranford, and she has a lot of friends of kind of these older women who still live in Cranford, and she goes back and forth visiting them. And in each chapter, it's kind of almost like a new story kind of surrounding these women and the people who live in Cranford. It seems to be kind of like this kind of slightly eccentric kind of place. They have particular do's and don'ts about what you should do and how you should behave when you're there, but they're all like very nice people. And there are kind of just like some funny stories, some tragic stories, and so far I'm very much enjoying it. I'm kind of just like amused by each story. So I am on chapter 9 at the moment, so like it's pretty much almost halfway through, and I'm hoping to read another chapter or two today, and I'm kind of going to just continue this throughout the week. But so far I'm enjoying it. The writing is just there's something slightly comedic about the writing, but in a very, very gentle way. It's not like mocking in any way, but there's like this humor to some of the situations and to some of the characters' actions and some of their like personality traits that I enjoy. And there's a kindness there as well with the narrator, who obviously cares a lot about the women that she is visiting, and she kind of wants to make them happy, and she's kind of finding different things out about their life and stuff that she's telling the reader. So yeah, I'm looking forward to continuing on with this. And then I have 3 other books with me that I can kind of just like choose from for the rest of the week, depending on how I go. So the first one I have here is There's Something I Have to Tell You by McDonagh. This is a kind of like a thriller murder mystery book that is set in Ireland, and we are following kind of a town, I think, or like this local area where this elderly man and his wife were found dead. They were found dead in the slurry pit on their farm, and I think there's a little bit of mystery around their death and how they ended up dying in such a way. like kind of like, was it just like one of these tragic farm accidents, or was there something more nefarious afoot? And it seems their son has come back into the picture, and there could be some like issues around inheritance and stuff to do with him, and I think he's a suspect. And then we're following a couple of other people from the local area who may all either be suspects or have something to do with the story. So I'm looking forward to reading this. I think once I read this, I'll probably fly through it. I have a feeling it'll be one of those books, like a real kind of typical kind of thriller book, mystery book, where you just, once you start, you can't stop. So I'm presuming that's what will happen for me with that. The second book I have with me is a book I got from the library, which I haven't heard about before, which is called Finches of Mars by Brian Aldiss. And I was just attracted to this in the library, I think because like it obviously is set on Mars, and it's to do with like a population of humans who are living on Mars. And it says at the back, Mars is in crisis. 10 years have passed since the formation of the Earth colony on the red planet, but it is still yet to produce a healthy child. Every baby born has been deformed and stillborn. With Earth overpopulated and at war, the Mars experiment is crucial to the survival of the human race. Something must be done to ensure its success. So yeah, I found that like premise quite interesting. So I'm kind of looking forward to seeing how that all ends up. This isn't a very long book. It's, I think, just 200 pages. So yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to getting my teeth into this one. I think it'll be interesting. And then the last book I have with me is a book that I've had on my shelf for a while, and both on my just like my TBR shelf of a book I wanted to read eventually, and then a friend of mine, she had read it and she actually gave me her copy because she thinks I will really like it. And that is These Days by Lucy Caldwell. This is a World War II historical fiction, but it is actually set in Belfast, and we're following two sisters and I think their experiences living during World War II in Belfast. And I think this will be a really interesting story because I haven't read anything about World War II in Belfast, and obviously like Ireland, the Republic of Ireland was a neutral state, but obviously because Northern Ireland is part of the UK, it was open to attack. And I think it'll just be really interesting to see like the attitudes towards World War II, and like maybe just the just how people were thinking, what they were doing, the type of like things that happened in Belfast during World War II. I think that'll just be really interesting from someone whose own personal country had very little to do during World War II, other like because we were a neutral state. And then even people who went and fought in World War II as well as World War I were often seen as like traitors almost, because they would have been fighting for like the crown. They would have had to join the English army, so they would have been fighting for the crown, and this would have been seen like as traitorous to many who were living in Ireland at the time, who, you know, Irish by the time World War II was happening. Ireland had been a free state only 20 years, so it would like the being under English rule would have still been very, very raw. So yeah, I just find all of that very, very interesting. So I'm looking forward to reading this one as well. So yeah, those are all the books that I have with me. It is currently, I think it is just almost 10 o'clock. I've already actually brought the dogs out for a walk. I woke up at like 7:30 and it wasn't raining, and I basically kind of jumped at the chance to bring the dogs out for a walk really quickly. So I brought them to the beach for 8 o'clock and was there for an hour. And as soon as I got back into the car, it started to lash rain again, and it literally hasn't stopped. So I'm really glad I managed to bring them out while it wasn't raining, but they had a good time, but they really needed the run because obviously they were in the car all day yesterday, and the weather was so bad when I got up here, there was no point in bringing them to the beach because then they would have just been soaking wet for the rest of the night. So yeah, it's definitely going to be a cozy holiday. Lots of reading, lots of gaming, lots of movies. So yeah, that is what's going to happen. So yeah, so I'll let you guys know how I get on with Cranford and what book I read next, and I'll check in with you guys soon. it is now Thursday, so it's been a few days since I talked to you, but just lots of reading, dog walks and all sorts have been done. It's a little bit rainy today, hence why I have my hood up and just letting the dogs out for a wander, let them do their business. But I wanted to check in because I have some reading updates, as I always do. So I have finished Cranford. I finished that on Tuesday afternoon actually, I think, and I really enjoyed it. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I think it was just really enjoyable. It was quite funny, comedic. The writing was very light-hearted. It didn't take itself too seriously, and yeah, I just liked it. It was obviously like a bunch of stories that had been published separately that all were like stuck together then, but they all followed kind of the same characters. In particular, we're following a character called Miss Mattie and kind of her relationships with people in Cranford and the town, and all their peculiarities in terms of how people should behave, and kind of, yeah, just social yeses and nos and stuff like that. And yeah, it was really interesting and I really enjoyed it, and I definitely want to read more of Elizabeth Gaskell's writing because I definitely liked the writing in Cranford, so I was happy to be reading that. And then at the moment I am literally about to finish There's Something I Have to Tell You by McDonagh, which is going to be kind of like a thriller. I wouldn't say it's actually more of a thriller, it's probably more slightly suspenseful, double-edged type of thriller. Of the family who we're following all have secrets from each other, and their relationship with the parents probably wasn't as good as they thought it was, and particularly with the mother. So the daughter-in-law and the mother-in-law definitely had a bit of a fractious relationship. It's really interesting to kind of get a deep dive into those relationships and seeing some of the secrets that have been kept, some of really horrific secrets, particularly a maternal person, and then how she treated her children and made her children feel about certain things. Yeah, how it had some really devastating consequences. So yeah, I'm about to finish this. I think I really liked kind of the rural Irish setting of it as well, and I feel like a lot of conversations around this, even in terms of just like farm safety, and then you know, inheritance of the land and the love of the land and taking on family land and stuff like that, and like kind of the burden of that and also the pressure and stuff. I think a lot of people who probably have grown up in such settings would really understand. So yeah, I really enjoyed this. It's just been a really nice one to read. So it'll probably be a 4 out of 5 stars, but I just wanted to update and let you guys know what I was thinking. Hi guys, it is now Friday afternoon. We are just out for a walk with the dogs. We've had some soup and lunch and I'm just waiting with the dogs while the others finish up. I came back to the car just to hang out with the dogs and make sure they were okay. I don't like to leave them alone for too long, obviously, in the car for obvious reasons. So yeah, I thought I would take this opportunity to check in with my reading. So I finished There's Something I Have to Tell You by McDonagh, which is the book I was talking about with you last, and I have given this 4 out of 5 stars, as I predicted I would. I did really enjoy it. It wasn't as twisty and turny as I thought it would be, like as I thought it would. I thought it might end up. It was kind of, I think there was some parts for that were a little bit straightforward. There were some storylines that were like a little bit shocking, I guess, in a way, like kind of reveals and stuff that I do felt like were very obvious from the start, just some things that were hinted at the start that this was something that was going to end up being revealed. And so yeah, it was kind of like it wasn't super twisty and turny, but I still really enjoyed it, and I just enjoyed seeing how the story turned out and how characters reacted and what happened like afterwards, and how their lives kind of improved and changed in different ways once like the parents or the in-laws weren't around anymore. It was kind of interesting. And I am about halfway through now Finches of Mars. This isn't a very long book, it's just under 200 pages, so I'm just about almost 100 pages in, and this actually is a really low
Goodreads rating. I didn't realise before I picked it up. It was just when I added it on Goodreads I realised that it is a very, very bad Goodreads rating. So and I can see why, to be honest. I don't think it is, like, as science fiction goes, it's a little bit vague in terms of some, like, plot. It doesn't really have a plot. It doesn't really have a plot per se. It's more just look like how the people who are on Mars are reacting to the fact that, like, no healthy babies are being born on Mars, and how they go about this. And it feels like even this kind of population on Mars and the what's going on in Mars, it's still very, very new, and there doesn't seem to be a proper system in a way in place, and it feels very shaky that this is something that could be sustained for a long time. So yeah, it's almost in, like, its first phase of Mars being populated by humans, but it doesn't feel like it's extremely thought out in a way either. So it's kind of interesting in that aspect. But I just feel in terms of maybe, like, character building, or even getting, like, you know, like feeling close or feeling connected to characters, I don't think it has anything like that so far. And I'm like halfway through, and I actually couldn't even tell you if I remember some characters' names or, like, who they are. I feel like they're kind of just, like, dropped in and out. You're not really following one person for the course of the book, like, you know, which makes for kind of a disconnected read in a way. And I saw some reviews on Goodreads that said that this was like the author's last book, I think, and people felt like it was very weak and kind of not a particularly goodbye for him in terms of writing in the genre. And maybe his earlier books are better. So I don't know, I'll see at the end of this book how I feel. Maybe I might get recommendations for if there's any books people have read from him that have been very good. Now, I'm not saying this book is terrible. It's not terrible by any means. It's just not particularly great either. But I haven't read a whole load of books that are, like, set on Mars and around kind of humans living on Mars. The only one I think I've really read in terms of like a Mars population has been the Expanse series, and that's obviously set hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years in the future, where, like, there is, like, proper there's proper life on Mars. It's not just a maybe idea. It's a thing, and it's been sustained for a long time. So yeah, that's that. I'll let you guys know what I think when I'm finished it. I am back home in Dublin now, as you can see, and I just wanted to give an update about the rest of the books that I finished while I was in Donegal. So as I was talking the last time, I was almost finished Finches of Mars by Brian Aldiss, and this one ended up being a 2 out of 5 stars for me. I didn't really enjoy it. A lot of the criticism that I was saying in the last clip, like, kind of proved to be true. I just thought it was kind of boring. I thought we weren't really following one or two characters, and we were kind of following a mix of characters, but there was no real, like, plot or character progression. And then at the end there was this kind of, like, time travel element that was discussed a little bit at the start of the book, but then came into kind of play at the very end of the book. And I thought that was really interesting, the time travel. But I was like, if the whole book had been about time travel, or if the book had started with what it actually ended with, and that would have been so much more interesting, I think. I don't know. Yeah, so I just found this kind of disappointing, unfortunately, and maybe I'll try more from the author if anyone has read the author and can give any recommendations for anything else he's read that might be better. We will see, but yeah, I wouldn't be rushing to pick up another book from him. But yeah, this one was slightly disappointing. And then I picked up and managed to finish as well These Days by Lucy Caldwell. This is World War II book set in Belfast, as I said at the start of the video, and we're following two sisters who are quite different. One of the sisters is going out with this guy and things are kind of starting to get quite serious, and the other sister is volunteering at the hospital as kind of like a first aid type of person, and she is also kind of starting a relationship with another woman that she knows, who is also a volunteer, and the two of them are kind of like flirting with each other, and you see kind of the start of this kind of quite lovely, tender relationship between the two of them that obviously has to remain a secret because of the time period. And this just kind of follows a period of time that was called the Belfast Blitz during World War II, where Belfast was just absolutely bombarded by German bombers, and there were like parts of the city that were completely destroyed, and so many people were left homeless, and loads of people were obviously killed, and yeah, suffered some real traumatic injuries and memories from this time. And I don't actually really know at all. I think I did say this at the start of the video. I didn't know too much about Belfast during the war, and I found this really, really interesting to read in terms of learning about the Belfast Blitz and how bad it actually was and how much was destroyed and the people, how many people were killed. And yeah, I really like those elements of the book. And I did like the family we were following. I thought it was a very like nice family, very kind of close knitted in their own way. But I do think that I felt like there was something maybe slightly lacking in terms of parts of the story. I would have liked just a little bit more in many parts of it, and particularly around the sisters' relationship with the people, like with the romantic leads, and then we see the sisters make different decisions near the end of the book, and I actually would have liked to follow them for longer. And I actually found one of the characters in this that I found really like kind of someone who I would have liked to have followed more was their mother. Their mother seemed to have a really interesting backstory from what I presume would be the First World War and her first love that she's kind of I wouldn't say haunted by, but she thinks about him a lot, about the life they maybe could have had, and she mourns him in her own way, even though she has obviously moved on, has a husband that she does love, and has 3 children that she loves a lot, but she thinks a lot about her first love. And I just thought that those parts where we see her thinking about her life and the life that maybe she could have led if things had gone differently, I just really liked reading about those parts, and I thought she was a really kind of captivating character in the book. I thought she was very strong. I thought, yeah, her sense of self was very strong, and she felt very real in terms of someone who is appreciative of what she has, but is still looking back sometimes and thinking, oh, what if this or what if that, which I think is a very, very human thing to do and a very natural thing to do. So I really like that sense in this book too. But yeah, I'm giving it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. As I said, I just thought there were parts of it that were just maybe lacking or a bit blander in some parts, and yeah, I just felt like I just needed a little bit more grit to it in parts, but in terms of something that like taught me something, I think it definitely taught me a lot. I would love to read more stories set in Belfast during World War II, maybe, if anyone has any recommendations. Yeah, I'm glad I finally read this, because this is one I've been wanting to read for a while. So those are all the books that I have read over my week in Donegal. I hope you guys enjoyed this vlog. As always, if you guys have any recommendations or anything you want to chat about in the comments, just leave them below. Thank you guys so much for watching as always, and I'll see you guys again next time.